Well, Apple has just kicked off its annual Worldwide Developers Conference in Silicon Valley with some major upgrades to its software and AI capabilities. Okay, now joining us to give us his insight about the Apple Developers Conference is Dan Ives. Dan is Managing Director and Head of Global Technology at Wedbush Securities. Dan, welcome back to the program. Good to see you again.
Great to be here.
Your first impressions of these new designs. It's interesting because so many commentators are pointing out, while so much of the industry is focusing, investing, and getting AI in all their products, Apple's spending a lot of money, a lot of time to improve its looks and its design.
Yeah, I think Mark nailed it with what he said at the end. I mean, look, it's a Game of Thrones battle in big tech. And look at OpenAI, look at Microsoft, Google, Oracle. You know, in Apple, they've been late to the game when it comes to AI. Best install base in the world. But go back to a year ago. I mean, a lot of those sort of what they promised, they didn't deliver. So this was safe, close to the vest. And I'd say it was a low bar going in. But look, now it's heavy lifting ahead.
Yeah. Okay, talk more about that, because the role of AI in the company's development strategy going forward, because it's such a trailblazing company in so many ways, and it was and is so late to the game of AI.
Look, I think part of it is that they never acquire companies, right? I mean, outside of Beats, what, $3.5 billion? So go back to like all the success that so many big tech companies have had with that acquisition, even OpenAI, which just acquired, Johnny Ive, former Apple, in terms of his company for $6.5 billion. So they have been late to the game. I think they're slow, and there have been missteps, but that's why, like, there's a window of opportunity. They got to go after this because, in my opinion, the consumer AI revolution goes through Apple. 25% of the world will access an AI device through Apple. But time's ticking. And I think investors, patience has started to wear thin.
Okay, I'm one of these people, when I saw the liquid glass, I thought that's pretty cool. But do these updates go far enough? Because what do consumers really want when it comes to their devices?
Well, look, I think that's part of it. Is like, how do you catalyze a massive upgrade cycle? I mean, look, to put numbers, 300 million haven't upgraded their iPhone in 4 years, of 1.5 billion. So is it a thinner phone? Is it foldable? Are there changes, from a hardware perspective? And then it comes down to like AI, like that's sort of the magic bullet. And I think that really hits at the point where Apple needs to accelerate growth. I think they will. But this was an event where it kind of lays the seeds of growth. But I'd expect some surprises over the next 6 to 9 months, whether it's acquisitions or a more aggressive AI strategy.
You think people are going to leave this conference somewhat going, meh, I've wanted to see more? And I'm also interested in your take on the impacts of the tariffs, on again, off again, high, low, medium, the way they are affecting Apple's plans.
Yeah, it's a little shrug the shoulders coming out of the conference. It's like going to a restaurant and like, it's okay, right? And I think that was sort of the view. Now, it's fine if it's okay because of that install base and because what they could ultimately do going forward. But when you talk about with tariffs and everything else, look, that's why it's been a perfect storm, because they're caught in the tariff storm, spotlight from Trump. What could they do in terms of, getting out of China, even to India? In terms of making iPhones in the U.S., we've said that's a fairy tale.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want $3,500 iPhones, you should make them here in Palo Alto.
But what about the tariffs? There's so much still out there in the weeds and so much unknown. These talks going on in London. Where do you see this realistically going?
Look, I think it's going to be de-escalated. I mean, our view is that U.S. needs China and China needs U.S. And I think you're hearing louder and louder, whether it's Jensen from NVIDIA, whether it's Cook from Apple and others, they're going to have to de-escalate. And I think that's all playing into what we're seeing in London, what we saw a few weeks ago. And the market's reading it. Reason markets obviously continues to be strong. Market's reading and saying you're going to have to take steps back.
Yeah, the market seems to be doing okay as well. Now, the outlook for hardware launches this fall, is that what you're talking about when you say 6 months down the road? Because, Apple really needs to stand up to its key competition.
Well, they do. I mean, like, look, iPhone 17, there's a lot riding on it. When they launched that in the fall, and you need to catalyze an upgrade cycle, and then you actually need to have a new enhanced Siri, like a real LLM, a real personal assistant. Because look, think about how quickly OpenAI, Google, Microsoft, everyone else is coming for Apple. So that's why there's a huge window there, and they have massive opportunity, but they can't be slow.
Yeah, indeed. Dan Ives, my friend, thank you so much. Always enjoy
Thanks.
your insight.